like? What does basic integrity look like? What is this idea of a Monday morning church? How can that work? And I want to set that all up by reading a passage for you here out of the book Secrets of Heaven, and this is Secrets of Heaven 2455. And it's this beautiful idea, beautiful concept around both what can take us away from God and then the converse, what turns us towards God. Truth is said to turn its back on goodness. In other words, we're just concerned about being right. We lose track of being loving. Truth is said to turn its back on goodness and gaze in the direction of doctrine when no one any longer takes to heart, this is beautiful, takes to heart what kind of life a person in the church lives, but only what kind of doctrine the person holds. So it's no longer about how you actually live. It's just about what you believe. It's just a belief statement. Yet a life according to doctrine is what makes people religious, not doctrine separated from life. When we disconnect, when we break apart doctrine from life, we destroy goodness, which is part and parcel of life. And as a result, we also destroy truth, which is part and parcel of doctrine. And that's just, there's so much, there's so much there. So what it's saying here, friends, when we get really focused on being right and we stop worrying about being loving, we're going to lose the plot, is what it's essentially saying. And it's a pretty serious warning there, like, because it is so tempting to really get into the, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this word right, the vitriol, the anger, the just was looking at a super angry Facebook post someone wrote. Like, it's really easy to get into that, but it's not loving. And that will not come back in a way that is positive or helpful. That inevitably sows a seed that comes back, and it is actually very destructive. And what this a warning of is it's a warning of if we're Christians and we're Christians in name only, that's a problem. If it's just a belief statement, if it's just a checkbox we have, we're really missing what Jesus was talking about, because Jesus was talking about living a certain way. And that's why at New Church Live, when we started, we called ourselves the Monday Morning Church, because the point was, whatever we looked at on Sunday, the point was not to just look at it on Sunday. The point was to live it on Monday as best we could. And there's lots of examples of how we can do that, friends. One of the ones that is always such a I don't even want to look at it because it's with a smile. It's a little difficult. Is finances. Like as a father of five, I'm always thinking about or in the past, when the kids were younger, was thinking about how to get them through college and then how to get them set up in their lives and da-da-da-da-da-da. And they're pretty much launched. So it's a different conversation today. But I can remember that, and that sort of being the overwhelming thought, and family vacations and all that stuff, paying for all that stuff. And it's a flip where we have to start to flip our thinking around money. So money, the first thought, it's just a real simple one. We can think about spending, investing, and then gifting. And usually it goes in that order, especially if those of us with kids, first off, like spend the money. We got an extra $100, it's dinner out. We got an extra $1,000, vacation, whatever it is, the spend thing is first. And then there's this second thought of, we need to invest some for retirement. And then way down the line is this idea of gifting it all. Gifting just comes from whatever's sort of left on the floor. And what we're asked to do spiritually is really think about flipping those three. So the first thought, if we want to again have this idea that religion and life are definitely connected, the first idea is where can I give? Where can I find ways to give, either of my time or of my money? That's the first conversation. And it's brilliant, because the idea of tithing, like what most people don't realize, I find it very powerful. Loved preaching on this actually, is the Bible. You can make a biblical argument that we're to give 10% of what we earn. And some people do, some people don't, totally up to you. What I do love about sort of the subplot of that idea of giving and tithing is the idea you're only to give 10%. Like it's 10%, right? And then you use the rest for making sure that life works. And I think there's some truth in that too. God's not asking for it all. He's asking for 10% that goes out there into the world, that creates goodness in the world. So that idea of giving, second investing, and then finally spending. Like flipping those priorities around is very different, and in some ways very un-American, because we are always thinking about spending first. We rarely think about giving first. I know with all those years spent with 5 kids and marching them through, it was a lot of worry around spending first. And it's just, there's little things like that where we can bring religion into life in a way that is really, really beautiful and really incredibly powerful. And it doesn't all have to be a big thing. Like that idea of putting giving first, it means, maybe you take a friend out to lunch or you pay for someone's coffee behind you, like whatever it might be. And I guarantee you're going to feel warm fuzzies around that, because that's what happens. We move into this place of goodness. That goodness itself will start to show us what is true, quote unquote, start to show us what to do. When we do that, we find ourselves entering the stream of God's providence. That's what God created us to be, as forms of love, forms of loving, finited forms of loving, finited forms of his loving. In other words, hands and feet. We're supposed to be like God's hands and feet, humbly, God's hands and feet. But it just puts us in a different place. And that's where, like, it can sound austere to say, like, well, if you break it apart, it's a serious problem. And it is, but on the other side of it is that there's this huge opportunity, friends. We really put together this connection of religion and life where we move away from being right and we really focus on being loving. We move away from getting and we move towards giving. It's just so simple. Like that will just put us in a good place, and how incredibly beautiful that is. So that's what to think about, friends. I hope that makes a lot of sense. And have a day just finding a way to give, whatever small way it is, and just see what happens. I think you know what will happen, and it'll be good. So with that, dear friends, what we are going to do is we're going to take a little breath, do a little meditation, do a little prayer, and then we will say hi to people on Facebook. So with that, dear friends, let's get a little breath. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know that I. Be still and know that. Be still and know. Be still and. Be still. Be. Our Father, who art in the heavens, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as in heaven, so upon the earth. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we also forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you, bring you peace, and bring you home. Amen. All right, dear friends, let's give a quick hello to anyone who has joined us on Facebook here and say, Yumachiri, hello. Rita, good morning to you, my friend. I hope you're doing well. Yeah, let's flip on over here to the New Church Live Facebook page. All right. That's so fun to see you there. Hello, Pastor Chuck. Good afternoon. So glad to catch it live. So glad to have you joining us live the whole way from over there in Africa. That is wonderful. Great to see you with us this morning. And Marcus, good morning to you, buddy. God bless all of you. And wishing you all a beautiful rest of the day. And we will see you again on 10 Minutes of Morning Calm tomorrow morning.